Good morning, rise and shine. Welcome, Uncle Sim's Data Kaleidoscope, Bedlam Media's premier morning podcast is our show to kick off your morning right and help you get through your busy workday, or in this case, your morning commute, unless you're working remote or are off today. Guys, before we begin, please make sure you like, comment, share this video with everybody. We'll be dropping this Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays every week. The format of the podcast, whatever comes up, whatever I have on my mind, it might be related to current events. It might not be. So I'm just going to get right into it. This is something I thought would be a good way to start off this podcast. We were talking about physical releases. Recently, I think for those of you who pay attention or, to the video game industry or even anything with physical media, Ubisoft, video game developer, the CEO made a statement saying that we're going to make sure people are comfortable with not owning their games. We'll start by saying that as of recent, I have had gone on this weird vision quest, if you will, in regards to physical media. I've always been a physical media junkie, but I've slowly started to die down, slowly started to you get older, you save money and whatnot. I figured it would be, how do I word this? You get streaming services. You can just rent stuff. Not like Blockbuster, but you have your Netflix, you have your Game Pass, you have Spotify. With statements like this and things like Best Buy and Walmart removing physical media from the forefront from the stores, and I've always been like this. I get very weary, especially if I want to watch something specific. It doesn't have to be anything. We're going to go down a rabbit hole. So this isn't just about buying physical products. It's a lot more to this. But it's always difficult. Every so often you'll find movies or somebody will mention a movie that maybe it's not that well known, but because it didn't do well, or video games, same thing, you can't get your hands on it. Or you'll have the distributors, the publishers make it very difficult, i.e. like Earthbound. Earthbound is like my go-to when it comes to video games. Very rare piece of Nintendo, Super Nintendo history. Biggest part about Earthbound is we got the character Ness in the Super Smash Brothers games. People are like, oh, who's Ness? He must be like Nintendo's like mascot. No, he was the lead character in Earthbound of the known as Mother 2 over in Japan. But for some reason, Nintendo won't release a physical copy of this. It took them probably well over 20 years to release the original game, Mother, which was on the Nintendo back in the early 80s. And I think the third game got released in the States. I'd have to confirm that. But they've never remastered it. It's always been, we're going to put Earthbound on our Nintendo Switch Online service. Other examples I'll give you for music, like a band Zebra. Early band from the 80s. If you're, Gen X, you'll know what I'm talking about. Zebra. Seen the band live, love the band. They're supposed to be the band that took over after Zeppelin with their sound. However, if you go to like Spotify, even YouTube, and the YouTube thing is going to bring us to another point here. It is very difficult. They might have like a best of maybe for a band like them. Again, newer bands, it's easier because the guy threw it on SoundCloud or threw it on Spotify. It's going to be there forever. Maybe, put it on YouTube. We're very in that culture, but some older stuff it's more difficult to find. But like YouTube, even YouTube doesn't have everything, and if it does, the quality kind of sucks. And that's another thing with streaming. As of recently, love going to the movies. I love having that full theatrical experience. I was watching, I forgot what it was the other day. I think it wasn't Dune. It was something. Either way. So this movie I hadn't seen in a while. I'm like, cool, let me watch this. And as I'm watching it, the quality, especially when the streaming quality, whether your internet sucks, whether it's a bad day, the weather is bad, whatever it might be, it just makes it unbearable. I know a lot of people in, society will be like, oh no, it's fine, it'll come back. But no, there was a time and place where even the VHS tapes, I know VHS, the quality was not great. But when we're talking about, you were able to grab your movie, put it in the VCR, play it. DVDs, the same thing. Blu-rays, the gist of it. So it's not only just about availability to me at this point. It's also about just avoiding quality dip. Now, you'll see this bag right here that's right behind me and this big boxy thing. I went down a rabbit hole, and a good example here. So me and a good friend of mine, we were talking about Star Wars. Star Wars is like, to me, like the golden goose when you're talking about getting your hands on an original cut or even the 97 cut. I will take the 97 cut too because I remember being little. They made the changes. There's some cool changes. Got to see it in theaters. It was awesome. After that, it starts to get really weird. They just start to add Return of the Jedi is a good example. The stuff they add in Return of the Jedi, you're just like, that was dumb. That was just not, no. So when we were talking about, Star Wars, and like, I haven't even seen the original cut any, and you can get online, you can find somebody has done the despecialized in a torrented or some, you might have a friend that might have it, or somewhere out there, you'll be able to find it. So we had been talking about this, and he goes, I bought my ex-girlfriend's father, I bought him a copy of the 97 cuts on Laserdisc, for his birthday or Christmas or something. They're like definitive and they're really hard. They're hard to find. So I'm like, that's kind of cool. So I sat there and I started, we were talking about Laserdisc. We are talking about, HD, Blu-ray right now, up in the quality to get, the best picture when you're watching. Really, oh, look at that. Sorry about that. We're going to start with Merlin trying to get out the door. Hold on, folks. Wow, that was not expected. So, going down this rabbit hole, going with image and video, and it is an older format. It was from like the late 70s to like 2000, and actually made players up to 2009. So by the time I graduated high school, we went looking. I actually found the player, and that's what it is right there. The player. There are some other movies I have that I just purchased. Movies are like a dime a dozen. Depends on what you're looking for, though. And what did I throw on the other day? I had Empire Strikes Back. It wasn't the 97 cut. It was the original cut, the 97 widescreen cut. And then, the original cut of Empire Strikes Back. And then I went and threw on the Undiscovered Country. Playing the discs. Again, they're big. They're like bigger than my face. And this isn't me telling everyone to go and flood the market and, start collecting laser discs and physical media. These are just my concerns and somebody who likes to enjoy and consume media. I threw it on. Machine was kind of loud. The image, because you're upscaling it, you got to go from, I did it with composite and I did it with S-Video. You got to play around with the tint and the color. The image isn't bad and the audio is digital. Like, the audio actually sounds really good. And I was just playing it through, and yes, halfway through, I got the auto reversal. So obviously, it's like a record, but it's, a big CD. And it does cut middle of the movie. It just cuts so it can auto reverse and start on the other side with the other laser, which was, nice. Yeah, it's not straight through. You got to wait, but it was kind of cool to just sit there and throw in a movie and not be connected to streaming services and the internet. But I thought it was a cool medium. And again, I'm a physical media junkie. I have my, vinyl up the wazoo. I, collect a lot of old video game consoles. If there's a movie I see, I buy it. Like Oppenheimer was one where Oppenheimer, I think, was hopping between like 3 different streaming services this year. And I'm like, no, I need a physical copy of that movie because that movie was so gorgeous. I think it would do it a disservice to watch it on a streaming service. So went out and bought a Blu-ray copy of it. So yeah, I think somebody who consumes media, getting back into it, I'm starting to push away from the streaming. I feel like, especially when they're starting to produce a lot of crap. There's our next layer here. There's a lot of decent content that does come out. I'm not going to knock the content that comes out, but when you're streaming and you can pretty much produce anything and just throw it on there, and nobody's paying for cable, and it's like $10 a month, $14 a month now, and now you can add, throw ads on there. People are going to pay for it, and then, we're going to watch whatever you're going to watch the content we create, and we can add whatever we want whenever we want. and take it off whenever we want. Cool. Like, if you're into that, I feel like there's a lot of streaming stuff. So at least with Netflix, this is what I'll say. We'll use Netflix because that was the template. That was the big one. Was the big one? I don't know. I don't use it anymore. I got rid of Netflix. There was nothing on it. I'm saying that, and just for the record, this is not a wrestling show. Everything will be done on Above the Ring. Don't forget to follow, like, subscribe Above the Ring over there. But WWE just signed that contract with Netflix where Monday Night Raw is now going to be on Netflix, which is a wild concept that Monday Night Raw will no longer be on television. It'll be on a streaming service. Again, they don't have to, they pay a deal and they don't have to produce anything. That's a totally different company. It's like subcontracting, if you will. But outside of that, like, there's a lot of, with Netflix, their TV shows are generally good. They have a lot of solid shows. Obviously, that's what we discovered. Squid Game, Dark. If you've ever seen Dark, it was a German sci-fi thriller, psychological thriller. Loved it. It's probably a top 5 show for me. Incredible. Wednesday was actually really good. The movies are like very subpar, if not great. Like, for me, it goes like this: if it's a release to streaming movie, most of the time I will not watch it. I think Amazon and maybe HBO, they have stuff I'll go and watch that are movies, but I don't touch it. We're talking TV shows. We got the 3-Body Problem, which, reading the book's incredible. Cannot wait for the Netflix show. That looks great. Fallout, I'm a big Fallout guy, so Fallout's going to be a blast. I will hands down, I'll go and watch that. Especially at a time right now where I'm not watching a lot of TV. I find it very hard to connect to television shows right now. Doing a lot of reading, but that might be because my job, I'm in front of the computer all the time. I want to get away from it, and that's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with the television that I'm saying, oh, I've watched an episode and it was great and I didn't go back to it. It's just me. That's a me thing, guys. It's not a you thing. That's not a them thing either. But yeah, so on the move, on the look for physical releases. The Laserdisc was kind of cool, and now I'm kind of like looking. I picked them up. It was like $6-7 a pop for a movie. I know they're big and this and that and bulky. Ooh, sure, I think it's a cool novelty to have. I'm not saying everyone go do it. If you're gonna stick with streaming, this isn't a rant on streaming and whatnot. More so on the video game side. I think the video games, especially, we've seen a lot. If for those of you who follow that kind of industry, where they're spending a lot of money, and then these workers, I think, was it Red Dead? I forgot what game it was, where they they were working these people like 100-hour, work weeks. They're sleeping in the office just to complete a game. So when they do that, and then they go, oh, by the way, we're going to stream it. We're not going to charge or you can buy for $60 digitally. Well, I would rather get that's the other thing too. If you're buying a digital copy, it's no cheaper than buying a physical copy. You're paying the $60, or in this case, with the new consoles, the PS5, you're paying $70. So at that point, pay the money, get the physical copy, give the company more money, or boycott it. I don't know about you. The Ubisoft thing kind of bothered me a lot. So I was like, well, you guys will not be getting my money for a while. If at all. I think that's something that I think everybody, and I know, convenience. It's all about convenience. Oh, I don't have to pay the money. It's $15. I can get the game. I understand that. Things are high, inflation, da-da-da. But at some point, you got to put your foot down. You got to go, cool, but we don't like this because we're going to get shafted in the long run. Netflix was a great idea for a while. Absolutely a great idea for a long time. And here we are now where we don't even have great movies. We don't, the TV shows are great, but the content is subpar. And even if you want to watch, I don't know, you're looking for like MASH, or you're looking for, well, MASH is easy to find, Friends is easy to find, Seinfeld's easy to find. But if you're looking for other shows, it becomes more difficult. And then when you finally find them, they're not in great quality. So That's my rant for today. Figured I start off strong. I don't know, strong. Maybe not. Maybe that's not the word. I don't know. I'm liking the laser discs. I'll be playing those a lot more. We'll be probably talking about that a lot more. Guys, thank you so much for listening. It's the first episode. Let me know what you think. Like, share, subscribe, leave a comment, leave a review. Not everything is gonna be about this. We'll be covering a boatload of topics. So keep in tune. Stay in touch. Show will be no longer than 20 minutes. If you don't already do so, follow me as the SOB official on X. Follow Bedlam Media. That's where we will be posting this on YouTube, Facebook. No Instagram yet, and we're on X there. Don't forget to follow my wrestling show Above the Ring with Scott and the Man in Black, Ethan himself. A lot of big things going on there. Like, I was at the Royal Rumble this year, and I will be going to WrestleMania, so we will be covering that in extensive detail. If you don't already do so, guys, again, thank you for listening. And as always, do not forget to